What's up, everybody? It's your boy, it's the Cho, it's the champ, it's the buttercream dream. Listen, off top, this podcast was so riddled with problems. We had originally, Drew was like, hey, I can't be there. And I was like, okay, cool. We'll just get Mark, Agee, Smart Mark from the Evening Excuse podcast to fill in. And then Drew was like, no, fuck it. I can actually show up to the podcast, no problem. And then Mark was like, well, if you guys just want me to fuck off, that would be totally fine. We're like, no, Mark, please come on the podcast. There will be all four of us. We want to talk about the election. That'll be great. There will be a star-studded cast. We'll talk about that. Then, your boy, my brother-in-law, got coronavirus, so I had to go get tested. My test took 4.5 goddamn hours, so I wasn't originally going to be able to do the podcast. And then I got home before I thought I was going to get home. I jumped in on the podcast, and then all hell broke loose, and several people's internet fucked up. And then what happened was, at the beginning of the podcast, it was Trey and Drew and Mark, and then it was me for a second, and then Trey's internet got destroyed, I guess, and then he pissed off. So for the last part of the podcast, it's me, Mark, and Drew. So it's a rotating cast. We're very sorry. And also, I'm going to be upfront with you right now. As I'm doing this intro, it is election night. It is Tuesday at 11:09. Tuesday, November 3rd at 11:09. And I 100% just totally fucking forgot to edit this podcast or do anything because it's been a stressful several days with the election. Then I did Trey shows tonight, and then we had our other stuff going on. And I just was sitting there. I just did Trey and Mark's live evening skews, and I was like, oh, fuck. It's 11 o'clock. I have to do the WellRed podcast, the thing that I have literally done every Tuesday night for over 3 years now, something like that, something insane. So, listen, I'm drunk as shit. I'm all out of sorts. I'm fucked up over this goddamn election. So, the normal cuts that I would make in this podcast, and I know a lot of you are saying, like, really, you edit this? It just seems like a bunch of blah, 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 blah all the time. You're right, I get it. But, like, the normal cuts that I would make, they're not going to be there, guys, because I don't have the time. I got to put this shit out, and I'm drunk. I don't know what the fuck to do. I'm so sorry. I love you. I hope by the time you wake up, things are better than they are right now. Shit is looking terrible. Nothing hits. This podcast is brought to you by Smoky Boys Grilling, all that, the car vodka, yada yada yada. Anyways, look, you can go on our other podcasts, Evening Skews, Into the Biscuit, and Through the Screen Door. But now on with this podcast. We love you. We're so sorry that this podcast was as fucked up and convoluted as the goddamn electoral college and gerrymandering and all that bullshit. But look, it is what it is, and we love you guys, and we hope that you're staying sane. And here we go. Skew!
Liberal rednecks, they like cornbread, but sex they care way too much, but don't give a fuck. They're the liberal rednecks that makes some people upset, but they got 3 big old dicks that you can suck. Alrighty. Well, let's do it. You ready to do it?
Yeah.
Cool. Well, here we are. Y'all, if you're listening, you may have noticed that's not Corey or Drew's voice. No, this is another edition of Evening Skews. Wait, that's not right either. You've come to the right place. This is the WellRed podcast, but that is the voice of Mr. Mark Agee you are hearing. He's sitting in for the Cho today. Hey, Mark.
Hey, bud. I don't know. Have I talked yet? Maybe I have. I don't know. I don't remember.
You know when I said, "Are you ready?" and you said, "Yeah."
Oh, yeah.
That's
okay.
going to be that. I know that seemed like it was before, but it's not. That's part of it. They're going to hear that.
I could do a Corey impression, just being like a 6-foot sub during the podcast if you want.
Yeah, it's actually weirdly Drew that tends to eat like during the podcast the most. He just shoves mashed potatoes into his mouth with his fingers. In case you're wondering what's up with Drew, he should be here at some point. He's going to join us. I think he's literally like eating catfish right now or something. As far as I can tell, it's something to do with dinner. Is what I don't know what the fuck's going on with either one of them today. Pieces of shit. Neither one of them.
Drew's a grown man whose mom tells him when to eat dinner. So
yeah, he is. Corey had an appointment to get COVID tested 4 hours ago, and you know how that goes. That's why he couldn't be here. I've been COVID tested twice. If you haven't, it shouldn't take 4 hours. Now, I will grant him this. He is in fucking Chickamauga. Resources, infrastructure there are not as good, so maybe that's the case. But it's been remarkably easy. It's not fun if you've not had it done. They shove a Q-tip all the way up into your nose. Like it feels like it's rubbing the back of your brain. It's not comfortable, but but it is quick. So
I haven't had that one yet. The two types I've had the nasal swab one where they don't go in your brain. They just like the nurse rubbed around my nostril. I had that twice for work to go to set for a job. And then me and Erin, my wife, we did the drive-through test at the Dodger Stadium. Yeah. That was like, I mean, it took like 15 minutes to drive over there, and we were there for like 6 minutes. You just like that's a total spit test. You swab your own cheeks and then drop it in a little container, and then drop it in a little drop box and drive away.
See, I had a combination of those experiences. I've been COVID tested twice. The first one was when I was on Bill Maher, and it was the nasal swab you're talking about, which, like you said, it's like a Q-tip that goes in the very front part of one nostril. They swirl it around, take it out, non-invasive, nothing to it. I had that done, and I was like, wow, that was remarkably simple. And then I went, if anybody's watching, some people do watch this. It's not just audio podcast. If you're watching, you see how fucked up my eyes are, and you haven't seen me address it on Evening Skews or anything yet. I had eye surgery last week. So sorry, I'm ghoulish. But anyway, I had to get COVID tested before that too. And it was a drive-through situation. They had like 3 different spots. One of them was in Santa Clarita, was the closest to me. So I had to drive 30 fucking minutes out of the way because that's just how LA works. But when I got there, it was like a drive-through COVID test. It took like 90 seconds or something. But when I pulled up to the nurse, she goes, have you ever been COVID tested before? And I said, yeah. And she goes, the nasal swab? And I said, yeah, nothing to it. Because I'd had the one for Bill Maher, the one you're talking about, which is, like I said, it's nothing. I was like, yeah, I got it. And she's like, okay, well, don't be whatever. She was like, I thought it was weird because I felt like she was giving me this sort of like calming spiel or something, you know? And in my head, I was like, it's fucking nothing. Like, you'd have to be 8 to be freaked out by this thing, is, you know? And I was like, no, it's fine. I got it. Don't worry about it. She's like, okay, tilt your head back. And I tilted my head back, and she fucking, it was the other kind. She stabbed that shit in there, and I was like, oh, I started choking and shit. I was like, oh, and she's like holding my face. She's like, it's almost over. It's okay. And I was like, oh, I don't want. And I mean, I got through it, but it was a very Raven experience for me.
That test seems, I mean, there's got to be a better way, because one problem with it is like it's so miserable that it's a big deterring factor to people go get one, right?
But it is again though, and again I can't stress this enough because Corey's appointment was 4 hours ago. It is super quick. Like It is invasive, it's uncomfortable, but it's over like that. It's not like having blood work done or that kind of thing. I mean, it ain't fun, but it's simple and fast, so it shouldn't be a deterrent.
But there's a second problem with it, because like a lot of the drive-through testing centers were staffed by volunteers. These weren't professionals who, like, you got to know how to, you got to be willing to really, you got to be a borderline sociopath to be able to do the test correctly, or like experienced medical professional where you have to make people really uncomfortable to do it, right? So people are getting false negatives because they weren't sticking the swab up deep enough. So like, I think we should just all go to the spit test and swab test, so it's easier to do and less miserable to do, I think. But apparently in Georgia, in Chickamauga, they're still doing the old kind, because Corey sent a panic text a few minutes ago about, well, I think the exact quote was, "Lord, they go in your brain."
Yeah. I mean, I'm ragging on Corey, but being from a comparable small town, I honestly wouldn't be surprised. I mean, I'm certain you can get COVID tested, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's like not a simple affair to be COVID tested in my hometown. You know, if it's like a whole thing and a real pain in the ass, or what is, like I said,
you think Corey's getting COVID? You think Corey's getting COVID tested in the back of a feed store right now?
Yeah, possibly. Yeah, wouldn't surprise me.
Bait and tackle shop.
Yeah. Oh, so did you do shit for Halloween?
No. Well, my neighbors, we have a courtyard in our apartment complex, kind of Melrose Place style, and we'll take lawn chairs down there and socially distance and have a drink every now and then. And we did that Saturday night. My wife dressed up like a cat. That was fun.
Yeah, we didn't do shit. I had to tell the boys. I mean, we'd told them for weeks. They understood that there was no trick or treating this year, but obviously that's a bummer. I only get so many of those, Mark. And this
Yeah,
one's
man. I mean,
books.
think a lot about how like miserable this has been for me, but like I'm just losing a random year of my life with no real milestones in it. But like, I mean, I was reading online about this woman who she graduated college this May and she graduates grad school next May. They're probably not going to have a ceremony for that either. So
Yeah.
like, she's 0 for 2 on college graduations. Kids are missing out on like, all of middle school and shit. It's like, sucks, man.
Yeah, I got two, and I've thought before, like, I'm really glad, like, only children right now or kids that have siblings that are, like, much younger or much older than them or something. It's got to really, really, really fucking suck. My
Yeah.
sons are 13 months apart, so they keep themselves and us very busy and preoccupied. But yeah,
Or the kids who don't have good Wi-Fi. I saw stories about kids doing all day school in a car in a McDonald's parking lot so they can do because they don't. That's the only way they can get Wi-Fi. It's like, oh god, man, it sucks.
yeah, yeah. Don't hit. Nothing hit. Speaking of not hitting, as we record this, tomorrow's election day. Just so you know, by the time people hear this, it comes out on Wednesdays. So when people are listening to this, yesterday was election day. Hopefully, the world still exists when this podcast comes out. Who knows? It's weird. It's weird thinking about, like, we're recording this, and between now and when it comes out, so much shit could happen. Do you think a lot of shit's going to happen, or do you think because I've heard conflicting viewpoints on like how much we will even know by tomorrow night. I've heard a lot, because of the mail-in voting and all that shit. I've heard a lot of people say like, look, we're not even really going to know that much tomorrow night. And I've heard other people say like, we're going to know a lot more than you think. And I'm wondering what do you think about that?
Well, it depends on which states matter, right? Because they all count votes at different paces in different ways. So, like, I mean, I think we will know Florida, Georgia, and North Carolina tomorrow, and I think if Biden wins any of those, it's toast.
Yeah.
If it comes down to Pennsylvania, we might not know till Friday or Saturday. Although you'd be able to read tea leaves depending on how different counties are coming in. Like all the nerds are saying to like click refresh in Sumter County, Florida, because that's where the Villages is.
Yeah.
The place real young because everyone else is 85.
Yes. Yeah. Is that the place where that video went viral a while back of like a golf cart Trump parade, and they were screaming white power, and then the other old people were screaming Nazi at them and that type of shit? That's from that same retirement community, right? Yeah.
Yeah. What's up? Drew's here. What's up, Drew?
Drew's here.
Hey, what's going on?
Oh, buddy. You're talking about the apocalypse and shit. We're talking about.
You're talking about old people fighting. I'm for that.
Yeah, we're talking about.
Remember bum fights?
Yeah, bum fights, of course.
Fights.
Yeah.
You think we always get in trouble on skews, Drew, for being ageist. So let's go ahead and roast. You want to start like a geezer fight where it's like,
buddy,
Drew knows all about that. He's went rounds with that exact problem multiple times over the course of the last years.
It started with a joke about, I don't even remember the joke on Facebook about old people voting for Trump, and these people got so mad at me, and I was like, look, I didn't say every old person voted for Trump, but the demographics are what they are. Like 70% of old people went for Trump, and so I wish they'd die. I don't like. What do you want from me? And they acted like that was unreasonable.
Yeah, it's like one of the reasons Trump's in trouble this year is because he's underwater with old people this time around. But that's what's funny. So you just made me think. I wonder if like old people actually changed their minds, or whether a cohort of them died, and younger people aged into being older people, and it shifted the votes of people over 65 in 4 years or whatever.
I think that might have been something about that was my joke because it wasn't just they got mad at me for talking about supporting Trump and them dying, and I don't remember what I said exactly. But instead of apologizing, I just kept telling them I hope they died. And so, yep, they don't like me.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have a lot of apologies in your vocabulary, I feel like.
Yeah, I got like 4 a year. And, pandemic, Andy got 2 of them.
Yeah.
But the other thing about that is I'm not ageist. And if I am, that's not the reason why. I don't think old people voted for Trump. I know most of them did. It's not because they're old. I don't want them to die because I hate them, nor because I'm afraid of. I just think it's time. Like, I don't think that's ageist. It's just I'm going to die when I'm 75.
Were the Eskimos ageist when they put them on those ice floes?
Exactly.
Them out into the Arctic Ocean?
And if you say they are, are you culturally insensitive?
Also, did I just use a racial slur?
I think so.
Yeah, I mean, I know it's not. I think it's one of those things you just acknowledge and keep. Like, you're not supposed to.
We're the Inuit ageist.
Yeah, the Inuits don't like to be called the E word, as it were.
Yeah.
I just thought of a sketch of like a woke racist. It's goddamn ableist to not have a fucking ramp on this church, you dumb racial slur.
Yeah. I dig it. We're bringing back Mad TV so we can pitch it. What was I gonna say? I forget. It doesn't matter. I mean, like, it is weird though. Old people vote in such big numbers.
Yeah.
But like, it's weird to me that people under 18 can't vote, but we still let people over 70 vote. Like, people over 70 have no stake in anything. Like, they're done.
Right. Yeah, I mean, that is weird, right? Yeah. It's also like driving.
I don't know.
They don't have to like. I don't know. I think once you get to be a certain age, you should have to like somehow prove your cognizant ability to keep driving, because like that literally endangers other people's lives, dude. I remember I saw once, and everybody's seen something like this. Katie's great grandpa, who just passed away last year, he's 100 years old. He was a literal war hero, fought the Nazis in World War II, all that sort of thing. Me and Katie have been together for 10 years, but that means when I met the guy, he was fucking 90. He's always been extremely old the entire time I've known him in poor health. But one of the first times I went to Waynesboro to my now mother-in-law's house when me and Katie were dating, he was like 92 or 93, and he was still driving and shit at the time. And he drove over there for dinner or whatever, and everybody was out in the front yard. And their house and their driveway is like on this like state highway, like Highway 54 or whatever the fuck, where the speed limit's 55. Their driveway turns right onto that highway. And everybody's outside and they're all hugging. Thanks for coming for dinner. Bye, whatever. And he gets in his car and just slowly, like 93-year-old ass, just barely turns out like onto the highway from the right, and immediately you hear these brakes lock up and this truck swerves to the side of him. It's like, and like you could see him in the vehicle, totally oblivious, had no idea that had even happened to him, and just kept like putting along down the road with this dude's like trying to keep his whole family from dying on the other side of the fucking highway or whatever. And everybody just sort of stand there, and like once it was like, okay, everybody's all right, they're just like, "Ah, Papa Odell," or whatever. And everybody's seen an old person do some shit like that. I don't know why that's just like. I mean, we're not ageist, goddamn it. Let's rant and rave about old people for fucking 30 minutes. But I'm saying, like, I don't understand why shit like that is just okay. Or like what Mark said, like, I don't get why you should have like a say in how things work.
Because they do vote is why they
women
won't take their driver's license.
Men used to be the only ones that voted, and somehow women got to be able to vote. Like, how'd that work?
I'm not saying we can't take it from them. Let me say two things. One, 70 ain't the right number. Let me be honest about that.
Yeah.
Because it should probably be 80.
Or higher. 85.
For driving or voting?
Both.
Either one.
Because if you're 70 and you don't have a say, the first thing that they're going to do is take their pensions. The reason old people have so many rights is because they do vote, and they vote in huge numbers. But I think Trump killed them all, Mark, with Corona. That's what I think.
70, I agree 70's too young. Dude, 70's not even that old anymore now. And I feel like, and I know you
right.
can't do this. This is like when you get into like literacy tests and stuff like that type of thing, which is not what I'm proposing. But at the same time, it is kind of what I'm about to propose, I guess, because I feel like there should be some kind of objective measure for like capacity, like competence. I mean, there is. Drew, you're a lawyer, right? Like you can be deemed incompetent at some point.
For certain things.
If you're incompetent, then that's when you shouldn't be able to drive, vote, probably all these other things either. Because I listened to a podcast with Norman Lear on it a couple nights ago when he was like 97 or 98, and he's still like completely 100% totally there. And I feel like if you're, all right, there is no certain age where a human being loses their mind.
Okay. But I thought we were mostly just doing a bit.
We are.
There's a legitimate huge problem. There's a legitimate huge problem with competency tests as it relates to voting, and that is this country's history of racism, homophobia, sexism.
That's why I said
like it will simply, not to mention the poor community and how hard it is for them to pass tests.
That's why I opened that with, I know how this is about to sound. Because that's why I brought the literacy test and all that, because I know you can't do things like that because they get exploited, and that's just voter suppression and all of that. But there's got to be something we can do about these old people, y'all. I'm just I'm brainstorming. That's all I'm doing.
Well, first the reality-based thing, like before we get back to the bit, like I would never suggest any sort of I wasn't suggesting phasing out voting because of age, because of competency. It's because they don't have a stake in any of the decisions the government makes except for the Social Security and pension stuff.
Right.
But I think 70's too young even for that, because they've paid taxes their whole life into these systems they were promised. And I assure you that if we got rid of, if 71 and up couldn't vote, the first thing every company would do and the government is take their pensions.
You're right about that for sure.
Yeah. But what
Mark's okay with it.
No, I'm not okay with losing stuff. Like I think phasing out older voters would shift the electorate to the left substantially and probably make their pensions better. But I understand your argument otherwise. But back to the bit part, what would a competency test for an old person? I mean, for a pop culture awareness, you got to be able to name 5 of the top 40 right now,
or just pictures of different races of people. What do you call this? Goes back to what we were saying earlier. They're all going to fail the Eskimo one. Hell, I failed it. None of them are going to know you can't say Eskimo anymore. It's not a simple test to devise.
No, it's not. Also, what score do they got to get?
Right. A lot of questions. We should form a committee.
But what if you couldn't read?
That's fine. Yeah. Let all them vote.
But how do you take the test?
My main thing is if you're 70, it doesn't matter to you whether global warming exists or not. You're not going to care about it because
holy shit,
people do not give a shit about their grandkids.
If you make it 80, I'm on board. You could probably talk me into 70.
Look who made it.
Look who it is.
Look how upset he looks.
Corona Corey.
So mad. Corona Corey. Oh, COVID Corey.
Cheddar Bob.
COVID.
COVID Bob.
COVID.
Yeah.
We was talking about your 4-hour.
Joe Bob choked himself with his own mask.
You didn't expect that to be as invasive as it was, did you?
Didn't hit.
No, it don't hit, does it? I know.
Did you do the nose one?
Yeah, but here's the thing, Drew. There's 2 different kinds of nose ones. I'm not going to retell it because me and Mark already talked about it up top. But
I know.
There's a very simple one, which I had done.
There are.
And then I got the second one thinking it was the simple one, not knowing there was a second kind. And I choked and gagged and about died because I didn't know that was coming.
But wait, I thought once they figured out you could do the simple one, everybody, because they're not evil, stopped doing the horrible one.
It's probably a money or resources or something thing, I would imagine. Because for me, the simple one came when I did Bill Maher's show. So it's like there's money behind that. And then the other one was from when I had eye surgery for UCLA using medical insurance and that type of shit.
But my simple one was at Scott County.
Okay, never mind.
Free clinic.
I don't know. That definitely don't check out. Look at Corey's face. He looks so upset. You look so upset.
I'm not upset. I just didn't know what you wanted me. I thought you were about to ask me what was up, and then.
Well, I do want to get back to what's up. But before we do that, Corey, what do you think about? We're talking about limiting the rights of old people to vote and how best to go about it.
For it. Absolutely
For
for it. Dude, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Absolutely, dude. I mean,
what age?
I'm a firm believer of that whole you don't get to pick the menu if you ain't coming to dinner.
Yeah.
You know,
That's
Like
what Mark
argument.
said. Yeah, pretty much.
I'm for it. No, I think they should be killed.
That's what
Yeah,
Drew said.
that's what
That's
I
what Drew said. You've covered. Yeah.
I
What
started
age?
this-
50. So Mark's got 2 more years.
I started this debate as a zealot. Now I'm the centrist in here.
Yeah, no. I think they should be killed, at bare minimum, chopped off at the kneecap, and rolled down a hill. And then once they get down to the bottom of the hill, if they can audibly say who they vote for, we'll count that one.
All right.
Trial by
So,
combat.
Yep.
What is?
So we're
what-
not
No, go
we're
ahead.
not
Drew.
ageist at all.
No. That's how the whole thing started, Corey. We're like, we get accused of being ageist sometimes, and then for 20 minutes we've been talking about whether to kill or simply strip the rights away from old people.
Well, you don't have to
Let's
kill
go
them; just
back-
strip their rights away, and they will die. So you can just solve that. You know what I mean? Like it's easy.
Yeah.
Like quit
That's
putting the
true.
cart before the horse.
Well, but
Yeah.
only the good ones. That's the reason they say that's the big argument as to why most old people are Republican is all the liberal ones died because the rich ones are mostly Republican and the
Because they
poor
were
ones
hitting
are
too
dead.
hard.
Well, because they didn't have the resources. Like
Right.
the theory is that they become more conservative as they age if they have money, and they stayed hippies or whatever, beatniks, I guess, if they didn't have money.
Well,
That whole thing is like that whole, as you grow older, you become more conservative. Like really isn't. I mean, that's all that is you get older, you get land, and then you don't want to
Yeah.
pay taxes.
I remember
You know
the
what I'm
first time
saying?
Yeah.
I heard. First time
that's
I heard
why it's not
that
happening in our generation. We don't have
cliche
no land.
was
Oh,
in
sorry.
business school, and it was the president of the business school at Tennessee Tech was the first person I ever heard say, if you're not a liberal when you're 20, you don't have a heart. But if you're not a conservative when you're 50, then you don't have a brain. Which is how
Right.
which I don't fuck that. I don't believe
So
that at
dumb.
all. Mark's 50 and he's liberal as shit. I don't. But I'm just saying it is 100%. Yeah, that land, money.
But that's not
whatever.
happening with our generation.
Right, which hits.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we're
Yeah,
poor.
we don't have any
Because we're
land.
broke, which don't hit. That don't hit.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Like
Well, yeah.
if they had been better, with managing and spreading our taxes around, I would love to be conservative. Are you kidding me? Do you know how much I want to be conservative? It sounds fun just listening to Kid Rock on your boat. That's a good time, dude.
Or now you got Lil Wayne as an option.
There's a famous Harold Ramis anecdote where the guy wrote Ghostbusters or whatever. He was talking about
Yes, Mark, we know. We're not that
Yeah.
young.
Okay, sorry. He was talking about being a hippie when he was younger. Is like when you're 20s, then you're in your 40s, you see a ride on the streets, like hell yeah, fuck. Oh wait, I'm parked out there. So,
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And when you're 60, you're like, that's my shit.
Yeah.
Hey, for the record, I don't know if I got the complicated nose test or the simple one.
You got the
But-
complicated one.
Well, it didn't hit.
I know.
And
That's how I
and-
know it was the complicated one. The simple one,
Well, the
no
simple
one
one
would
don't
say
hit
it
either.
doesn't hit. If it's nothing.
I
though.
say it doesn't hit. Yeah, because you had the other one. Without having the other one,
No.
it's really
I've al-
it's a mild discomfort, which is not something I enjoy.
Well, for the record, yeah, like it didn't hurt really. It was just I didn't know you could
go
do
that far back.
I didn't
Yeah.
know you could go that far back. Yeah, without
Yeah.
killing me.
Right.
But also I didn't know. I thought they were just going to do the one nostril, and they did two. And like me finding out they were doing both nostrils was between nostrils. Do you know what I'm saying? Like I didn't have any time to prep for that.
Yeah,
Like-
like sort of have to be.
Yeah,
I
no,
guess
but I'm
let's
saying
say
like
double fist.
No, but I'm saying- well, they could tell you, they could say it with their mouth. They could say, "Hey, we're going to do both of your nostrils,"
yeah.
but they didn't. They're just like, "All right, this is going. Just don't worry about it. This is. I'm going to talk you through. Okay, all right, don't hit, don't hit, don't hit." And I'm like, "No, don't hit." And then they go, "All right, and here we go with the other one." I'm like, "Motherfucker, what?" And no, it did. And dude, I'm talking like, you remember that when No Sean Marino cried during the anthem?
yes.
It was that. Like maybe it wasn't because it hurt. It was like whatever the tear center in my brain is, they hit that with the Q-tip. And like, I'm talking like, son, on the way back, I looked higher than a fucking cat's ass. Like I would have easily got a field sobriety test if I'd have got pulled over. Didn't hit. But hey, negative per the rapid test. Now, when they say that, oh, you got the rapid test, or we got the 24-hour test, or we got the one that takes 3 or 4 days. It's like, well, clearly they can't. If they all worked, everyone would just do the fucking 24-hour one. So I don't trust that I don't have it and that I'm not going to die by the end of the week. Hoping for it. It'll be very Raven if I turn around and start feeling real bad tomorrow on election day and then die. That'd be the most Raven thing there could be. And
the
if I
most
die,
Raven thing there could be is if you got it there.
right? Yeah, and who knows? Yeah, no, for sure. But right now they say negative. But like, it's also very coincidental because they asked me, they're like, "Are you having any symptoms?" And I was like, "My head is bumping, my throat hurts, and I got a runny nose." But that always happens to me on the very first day that it gets truly cold, and that just so happened to be today when I was like, it was 20 this morning. So like, it's just a bunch of coincidences lining up. But go get tested, y'all.
Do you think that the painful, awkward test is like more prevalent in like red areas because like Brian Kemp wants to get the numbers down to make the test painful?
I could see it.
Well, like I said, man, I'm in Scott County. Bill Lee is the worst governor in America on corona, and we're in Scott County is one of the poorest counties, and we had the easy one.
Oh.
And I made my nephews go with me because they'd been exposed to somebody, and they had already gotten the hard one because they've been exposed another time, and they were like sick to their stomachs. Like they were mad at me, and then they got that simple one, and they were like, "Oh, that was great." So I mean, it's not like we started out it.
Well, none of that hits. You know what does hit, Corey?
What's that, Trey?
And a big old hard dick. That's what hits. This episode
You're
is
goddamn
sponsored
right it
by
does.
Blue Chew. Let's talk about something we could all use more of right now. Good
Pussy!
Sex. That's right.
Oh, right.
Yeah, but it's both.
It's both, yeah.
It could be both.
Blue Chew brings you the first chewable with the same FDA-approved active ingredients as Viagra and Cialis. You can take them anytime, day or night, even on a full stomach. So always, if you're me or Cho, you can
Absolutely.
be ready. When an opportunity arises, Blue Chew's made in the USA. It's prescribed online by licensed physicians, so you don't have to go to the doctor or wait in line. It's even cheaper than a pharmacy, and they prepare and ship it right to you in a discreet package. No awkwardness, and you don't need to leave the house. What hits harder than not leaving the house and having a hard dick? Nothing.
Nothing.
I haven't
If you could
having a full
benefit
belly on a
from-
hard dick. But yeah, go
Yeah,
ahead.
that's true. If you could benefit from more confidence where it counts, Blue Chew is a fast and easy way to enhance your performance. Imagine it. You get invited to an orgy. Let's say a church service orgy called the Church of the Eat, Fruit, and Fuck. Well, right now, we've got a deal for our listeners. Visit BlueChew.com and get your first shipment free when you use our promo code or Como Prode, whatever you want to call it, RED. That's RED. Just pay $5 shipping.
Yeah, again, guys, that is BLUE Chew.com, promo code RED, R-E-D, to try it for free. Blue Chew is the better, cheaper podcast. And remember, when you support our sponsor and get you a hard dick at the same time, you help make this podcast possible. So please be sure to use that promo code RED at BlueChew.com. I'm getting a nice visual of a dude with a rock hard dick just looking down, just being like, I'm helping the guys out. You know what I mean? I really like that. So
making all this possible for us.
I love, first off, while we're still talking about Blue Chew for just a second, do you think that like the original formula was not, you weren't able to take it on a full stomach, and like that was one of the first big things that they had to go back to the drawing board for? You know what I'm saying? Because if I know anything about people like me who maybe, I won't say require a little help in the bedroom, but certainly don't hate it. We love nachos. You know what I'm saying?
Also,
and I don't know that I've ever been steak. Yeah, for
I feel like when it started, it was like old senator type guys who were like, "Well, I only get my dick hard after a porterhouse, or whatever." Like, well, it's don't hit. Oh God,
this is so. It's so. Yeah, I got it. We're recording. It's so Raven because of how many times the cast of this podcast today has changed. And now Trey just ain't. Originally it was, you weren't going to be here, Drew, right? You weren't going to be here. And we're like, Mark, you'll fill in for Drew.
Yeah.
And then I was like, I think I have coronavirus. and now it's just Trey's not here for reasons I have no idea why. So,
all right. Well, yeah, to catch everybody up, Trey isn't here. We're not sure exactly what happened, but we're going to move on. We had some great jokes about how Mark is 50 and he's seen a lot of elections, but Mark corrected us. He's apparently 48. Sorry about that, Mark. No, Mark's 42. I was trying to transition into talking about the election. By the time this drops, it will have happened. And so we're going to, I guess, make our predictions. Corey, would you like to go first?
Yeah, I mean, sure, I'll go first. I probably have, I don't know if it's the most vanilla answer or the most like, it's going to seem like a real political answer, but realistically, the reason is that I'm a sports fan and I believe in jinxes. I don't believe in talking during a fucking heater or no hitter, anything like that. It's hard for me to go on record and saying something because then there's a soundbite of "fuck you, we told you so," and I feel like if I put it out there, I'm a Georgia sports fan too, so I've never wanted to be like my team's gonna do it. It does feel like if you just go by, there's a lot of things going against Biden, which is the incumbent usually wins. In very rare cases, I can think off the top of my head, Jimmy Carter, George H.W. Bush. It's like, well, in order for the incumbent to lose, something terrible would have to happen. I believe it has. So we can kind of cross that one off. The early voting turnout for an incumbent race, this is unprecedented because usually that's one of the reasons it's huge low voter turnout in incumbent races. It's unprecedented, the early voter turnout, the absentee ballots. That's usually a sign of people going, oh, fuck. And that ain't in his favor, I don't think. It does seem like they keep saying that Florida's going to flip, Texas is going to flip. I don't know. It's still hard for me to wrap my head around there being hope in those places. But I don't know, man. I'll tell you this. My one prediction is Biden's going to win the popular vote by maybe a record, the popular vote. But as we know, that doesn't always matter. So I'm going to say Biden, but I'm also fucking once bitten, twice shy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so Biden by a field goal. All right.
And man, yeah, and we might have to review that somehow.
Well, speaking of reviews, I guess I'll go next. I think that Biden's going to win and that Trump is going to challenge the vote via the courts in a bunch of key states. I think that they've been planning on doing this for a while. When the idea of voting, early vote, mail ballots, all that first came up, Trump was like, you can't trust this. You can't trust this. We got to vote in person. We got to vote in person.
Right.
And a part of me, going back to old people earlier, I was like, okay, but what's he going to accomplish? Like, what's his game plan here? And now I realize he's been telling his people to vote in person. He's been doing it that whole time. So he has, by design, tried to create it to make it to where most of the early voting are Democratic votes.
Right.
He's told his people not to early vote. And he's going to challenge. He's definitely already planning on challenging Pennsylvania. He pretty much said he was going to already. He'll do Wisconsin if he loses there. He'll probably do North Carolina if he loses there. And I got to be honest, I think he'll win. I think he'll win in court. I think it'll be a nightmare. I think that that will create a lot of violence. And I'm not excited about that.
So you're saying that you think that Biden will win, like I won't say on election night because we're probably not going to find out on election night because of how many ballots they're going to have to count that were in ballot boxes and stuff. So you're saying to me that you think Biden will, like, to us it'll appear legitimately win, and then we're going to have a year 2000 situation where, okay, I mean that seems to be how they do it.
Well, I know that's I feel like that's what he's playing for. Republicans in Pennsylvania sued and successfully to make it to where they couldn't count any of the ballots early.
Mm-hmm.
So they got all these early voting ballots, but they can't start counting them until Election Day, right? Well, now Trump's already given the game away, as he always does when they brief him on the plan. He's already said, we're going in there with our lawyers at night and saying no more can be counted after 11 p.m. They won't be done by 11 p.m. They absolutely will not be done counting those ballots by 11 p.m. So I think this was a play and a plan. I don't put anything past any of them. And then my darkest thought is that it'll work.
Well, I still am not convinced. I mean, I'm sorry, Mark. I know you need to make your prediction, but to piggyback on that for just a second, I'm still not convinced that this motherfucker actually wants to win. Like it seems so much still that every fucking day he keeps just going out there like, surely to God if I do this, surely to God if I do this, and like you say that he keeps giving the playbook away. He also does this thing all the time where he'll be in the middle of a fucking rant and then he'll say something that's like, dude, that you said the quiet part out loud. But like it won't have nothing to do with it. He'll be going on and be like, we're gonna build a wall. You've seen it. Okay, we're gonna do it. Mexico's gonna pay for it. I've been saying it. God damn it, my life was great before I did this job. And we're gonna have da-da-da. And he keeps going, I'm telling you, I had bitches and I had gold toilets and he's constantly talking about how wonderful his life was before all this. And like, I don't know, man. I think he wants to lose, but be able to say, well, really I won and I'd be there if things were right, but that's how it is. So I'm out. That's what I feel that he really wants. Mark?
But before Mark goes, let me say this. My scenario will only make sense if Biden is close in the electoral. If Biden blows him away, if they do win Texas, it's not going to happen.
Fuck it.
Like, he's going to be so far ahead. Mark?
Yeah. I mean, I understand what you're saying, Drew. I just don't think that's going to happen. It's just like he's even the judges he nominated have rebuked him repeatedly over and over again. And the Supreme Court sucks. And if Brett Kavanaugh gets to decide, it will not be good. But like,
Brett Kavanaugh already decided in Wisconsin. He already threw some votes out.
Wait, that was which case you're talking about? Because like they had a couple cases in Michigan, Pennsylvania, and like the Pennsylvania, the Wisconsin one tied 4-4, and it reverted to I think the state court decision. Anyway,
and the state court decision was upheld, and Kavanaugh wrote the 4-4 side, the Republican side. The Wisconsin question before the court was, does the governor have a right to make it to where, sorry, my dad walked in his room, so, I can't be upset at all. But it distracted me. Hey, Dad. The governor of Wisconsin made it to where if you get your ballot in the mail by voting day, it'll be counted. And what Kavanaugh said is, in his opinion, is that only the legislature can make a decision like that. Okay. But that opinion came down in the middle of voting. It only came down 5 days ago?
Yeah.
So there were people already making plans. So who knows if their ballots are getting there? Because keep in mind, the guy appointed by Donald Trump to the UPS to run the USPS has already tried to slow down the USPS.
Yeah. But so many mail ballots have already been returned. It's like they're definitely trying shit. I just don't think it's working. They lost that Texas case today in pretty stark, rebuking fashion from one of the most partisan federal judges in the country.
I didn't see that one. I'm glad they lost. I know what you're talking about. I didn't see the result.
Yeah, that Judge Hassan or whatever his name was basically laughed him out of court. Because he ruled they didn't have standing. But then he also told them that if they appealed in the standing ruling and came back to him, he wouldn't decide them on the merits because their case was horseshit. So that's 127,000 ballots that were trying to get thrown out. And
that's good news.
Yeah.
Going back to Scalia, Mark, from law school, there's when a Republican judge is on your side, there's nothing better in the world because they just, like Scalia on down, they just write their opinions so sarcastically. They just act like the other side is the dumbest person in the world. So in that rare occasion where they're on your team, it feels pretty good.
Yeah, his exact quote was when they tried to argue that drive-in polling places are less secure than walk-in polling places. His quote was, "I ain't buying it." So it was just that was nice. But I just think it's going to be. I mean, I understand him. Like if it comes into Pennsylvania, the first count won't be until Friday or Saturday, and the county, I'm not even sure how they would stop the count or why, but because they don't have any. I mean, federal judges can understand there's judges do a heavy bit of motivated reasoning, especially conservative judges, and they can get to whatever conclusion they want. But that argument they were making about state only, because the Constitution says only state legislatures can make election rules. So basically, any state court ruling or any county judge ruling or a state county registrar or whatever, if they adjust things slightly, they always have to fall back on it. The state legislature didn't explicitly approve this, but that's exactly what that federal court and a judge in Texas told them to fuck off on, because it's like we understand that the state legislature delegated authority to county officials to figure out how to run elections. And the Republicans in Harris County signed off on this plan to have drive-in polling places. Nobody contested it until 2 days ago. This is extremely transparent.
Yeah, but if they do appeal and try to get around the standing issue, Kavanaugh has made it clear that he'll overrule that. Kavanaugh will overrule that Texas judge, is my fear.
Yeah, I just think it's gonna. I mean, it'd be nice if they won Texas and my old place I used to live. It would be nice. It'd make me happy. But it's also not necessary for Biden to win the president. If he wins either Florida, Georgia, or North Carolina, we all know those election night. I think then he's toast, no matter what Pennsylvania does.
Well, this is like Drew said. I don't put anything past not only the Trump administration, but especially the top. Well, I don't know if I should call them the top tier of his followers, because they're definitely the fucking worst people I've ever seen. But like the loudest, the Trumpers, not just Republicans, but like the MAGA clan or whatever. I'm kind of like more worried. Like even if it is a Biden blowout, he set up this whole campaign from the Roger Stone with the fake news to the I'm not accepting the results. Like they've set up this whole world where if the Democrats do something good happens for them. It was bullshit. It never actually happened. Yada, yada, yada. So I expect this week to be very stressful, insanely stressful, and I expect it to get honestly pretty violent regardless of how it goes. I hope that's not the case, but like, I mean, we saw yesterday with that fucking, all those Trump trucks or whatever surrounding the Biden van, like the Biden bus. Like, look, man, I'm from the country. Y'all are too. If you just showed me that shit and it had no political thing, old Corey would have been like, yeah, man, they're fucking with somebody. Whatever. Cars, driving fast, whatever, honking, skew. We threw watermelons at people, whatever. But like, I'm an adult now, and these motherfuckers are not acting like adults. And like, I know that's a funny clip, and I'm sure there's a lot of Republicans. Look at this, man. They're scaring the shit out of these fucking libtards. That is insane. That's literally terrorist behavior. Like, I'm not saying that these motherfuckers have rocket launchers and they're actual ISIS members, but like, I don't know, dude. Like, that's what people are comfortable doing in public. I just can't imagine what they're going to do at night when they don't think anybody's looking, and it terrifies me. And, everybody stay safe, yeah. I guess is what I'm saying.
I mean,
they did it in Riverside, California, too. It's not just Texas.
Yeah, but that was so funny because Riverside's Trump territory. So they blocked up a polling place and they stopped Trump people from voting. It was fucking. They're so disorganized and don't have any idea how things work. They're just like that. Somebody on Twitter made this point, but like when they clogged up the bridge in New York yesterday where they stopped traffic. It's like you're not. Like protesters stop traffic. But you're not advocating for anything. You're not
right.
For
you're
anything.
Just being an asshole.
You're just annoying people you don't like. Yeah. While you honk your horn, just like honking is the perfect protest because it's like you're just annoying somebody you imagine you don't like. You're not doing anything else.
Yeah, that's the shit that pisses me off when if let's say a Black Lives Matter protest is blocking traffic, they're like, well, God damn it, they're out here blocking traffic. What does that help? I'm like, well, you're talking about the cause. So there's one thing. It's supposed to it's disrupting your life. Imagine how much police brutality is disrupting their life. You're getting a tiny, very privileged glimpse. Oh no, you had to go to a different wine store, you piece of shit. But what if I just went out there and started running over people? And all right, well, you're a fucking crazy person. This is way different.
Well, they've been doing that. Have you seen where they put like a what's the word? Not a mummy. A mannequin, like they tape them to the front. They put a mannequin on the front of their car, and they put they write Antifa on the shirt, like they've ran over Antifa. Jesus. They're doing that at parades. Like those people are nuts. But to be a little bit more hopeful and going back a little bit, something I was thinking about, and this might be the case with that Texas judge. One thing I am hopeful of, Mark, if anything goes to the Supreme Court related to the voting, is that one of those old dudes can't stand him. That there's one Federalist Society conservative judge on the Supreme Court. I don't know which one it would be, Maybe Clarence Thomas wants to look in the mirror and realize that he's black, and would just I know Clarence Thomas is the least likely one.
Him and Alito suck.
I know. Honestly, I think Stevens is the top possibility for what I'm talking about. To just be like, no, I'm not giving you this election, dude.
I just think look, they're on a third.
What about my girl Sonia Sotomayor?
She's a liberal one. She's definitely going to go against.
I just like saying her name.
I'm not saying they are deeply an authoritarian party to a large degree, but I don't think they have the juice to try it right now. Like, it's just like there's going to be a moment when
you say juice.
Juice, yeah.
All right.
The clout. They're too much minority party right now to make that kind of move, and it's just like,
okay. But if they do it, for the record, that will actually, in my opinion, be why. Like, you might be right, but if they do decide to do it, I think it'll be because they're like, this is our last shot.
But they're not. I mean, look, we lived through. I mean, holy shit, Reagan got elected. 5 years after Nixon. Trump got elected 8 years after Bush in the Iraq War, and America is a two-party system, and they're always going to be roughly equal in power. Go back and forth from year to year depending on the mood, because people can't really understand how extreme one side's gotten. So all they gotta do is wait, and they can. You don't think if Biden keels over and it's like Tim Scott versus Kamala Harris in 2016 that it's going to be a tight race? They don't have to do it this time, and I still think they're going to do it.
Maybe, but I think you're skipping over two important cultural factors that they're very worried about. A lot of issues are like 70-30 issues now. What happens in those times you're talking about is we redefine what it means to be conservative and or liberal.
Right.
And so when it comes to abortion, gay rights, and then also with a lot of their gerrymandering, which they're very worried about going away, that's how they're holding on to power. So I agree with you that there's always going to be two parties and they're always going to be roughly equal. But I also think that it's very possible, and they're aware of this, that the country itself is going to move left. And I don't think, for example, Mitch McConnell's about that.
Yeah, but I think why they rushed to install Coney Barrett was precisely so it wouldn't matter. Like, it just, I don't know. It's just like, I think to my I hate telling people not to panic about Trump, because I think the fact that people have constantly panicked is one of the reasons it's pushed him back so much. But like the bluster never, like, he's lazy and unfocused and can't follow through on shit. So he always threatens this awful shit. People yell and scream about it, then it gets dialed back 94%. Like, I just don't think, like, Biden's going to win like 340 electoral votes. Pennsylvania's not going to matter, and they're prepared for these court fights that aren't going to be necessary or meaningful anyway. And it's just like, it's just going to fizzle out.
Well, if he wins by that margin, it won't matter. Now, for those of you who are masturbating right now because of what Mark predicted, please keep in mind that Mark also was certain that Trump would die of COVID. So he's got some kind of mush hope brain going on.
He don't hit. Listen to me, Mark. You just
well, I think you know what it is. In his old age, his grandkids have him so positive.
I agree. He's got to be the cool papaw so much. He's like, no, Biden, we're going to get it done. We're going to keep on rocking in the USA. Direct quote from Mark.
Yeah, Mark has a resist tattoo.
Literally.
What's he had on as we speak if you're listening to the podcast?
Every fucking day, Mark says something that I'm like, dude, it's the ninth inning. Shut the fuck up. Let him pitch every day. And he's just so goddamn. The confidence of a Chauvin-headed white man knows no bounds.
I'll just like he would need a polling error triple the size of the one in 2016, and in his direction. And polling errors go both ways. It could just easily miss like swing Biden 3 or 4 points, and it's like we're into like Reagan Mondale territory.
Speaking of swing Biden, I bet they used to swing.
Oh yeah,
for
he
sure.
just got that He don't wear a tie. He drinks
Yeah.
Heineken. I bet, you know.
Did you ever see the old quotes like after his first wife died? He used to talk about how much he missed fucking her a lot. He would talk in interviews about how he missed pleasuring her and stuff. Like he was a horny dude back in the day.
Jesus Christ, that is rough
I
to
miss
hear.
pleasuring her.
Yes, he's like imagine
you're-
like your wife, the mom of your 3 kids dies along with one of your kids, and you're giving newspaper interviews about how much you used to miss really banging it out.
Yeah, you should never
Now,
mention
was this
titties in
like-
a eulogy.
No,
Was this like a year later or like 10?
it was before he got with Jill. So
I think I can argue either one is worse. I could make arguments for if it was a year, it's like she's not even cold, and if it was 10, it's like, ugh, you're thinking about ghost pussy, gross. So like either way, just when someone dies, you don't
Wait a
get to.
minute. I thought you were just meant like get over it or something. But
No,
you're
no,
saying
no, no.
ghost pussy's gross?
No,
This
no, no.
man, Mark, argued that he would fuck his own butt through a portal if he could, but now ghost pussy is somehow
No, ghost
off
pussy.
the table.
Ghost pussy's fine. I guess I was thinking of like dead pussy, and that don't hit. But like, I'm just saying,
zombie? No, that don't hit. That ain't it at all.
I'm just saying, like, if you're listen, no, now look, I fucked a lady that's now dead. I've thought about it. You know, like I'm not saying that you can't do that. I'm just saying
Tell Mark how she died, Corey.
she was walking her dog on pills and she fell off a cliff. So, but I'm saying, like, if someone asked me, they're like, when's the.
okay.
Mark, zombie or ghost pussy?
Ghost definitely. Vampires probably above both though, because they're seductive. That's what they
That's
do.
kind of both.
Yeah.
Kind of, but they're also horny and sexy, and that's how they get their victims.
All I mean is just maybe leave that out. If someone brings up your dead wife, just be like, we had such a special bond, not she's the only one let me eat her ass. I don't know why it's Clinton, but
We all know why it's
yeah.
Clinton when you're
Right.
talking about eating ass.
come
I
on
mean,
now.
to me, it's more forgivable if it's like a year or less, because you're still heavy in grief. And I would you'd be out of your mind, you'd say whatever.
Right.
It's still just a very weird thing to say. Right?
I hope he wins. I'm not saying that. I hope he wins. It's weird to me.
No, I mean, like we've had weirder, hornier presidents. You just talked about Bill Clinton. Do you guys know that, dude? Well, you guys are already guys. We can get pretty filthy. So apparently, when one of the many things that made him get called Monica crazy was that usually when she blew him, he wouldn't let himself finish. He's like,
Yeah, I
just
heard
punishing
that.
himself. So
Yeah.
like the fact the one time he let himself finish, she got it on her dress and she kept it, and it was a DNA sample that proved him guilty. It was like fucking. Also, dude used to walk around the White House eating raw potatoes like apples.
Was he a
I knew
drunk?
that. I didn't.
Huh?
Was he a secret drunk and we didn't know it? Because I know that's a drunk thing. Like they like to eat They like to eat raw potatoes.
Is it? I never heard.
That's
anyone
what
else doing that.
George Jones did that all the time. Just because it was that he didn't really want to eat because he didn't want to fuck up his buzz. But raw potatoes was the easiest way to get starch in him to soak up the alcohol so that he could sober up just enough to do a thing and then get re-drunk, and like it was just a whole weird thing.
Okay.
Damn.
Yeah, lunatic.
What's funny about that is Mark said that he wouldn't finish on blowjobs, and then that ended up being the second weirdest fact. But well, that's like edging or whatever. Like, what's that about? Like self-hatred or self-mutilation or sadomasochism?
if you really want to punish yourself, just don't get a blowjob from a 20-year-old. You know what I mean? Like
Bill
the
Clinton,
ultimate punishment.
That's not an option, baby. When you're
Right.
when you're to BC.
That's true.
Yeah, I think it's just a form of masochism.
And also, Corey, not getting one is better than getting one and not finishing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's true.
So he was punishing himself. Yeah. So man, I wonder if he's like into getting fisted and stuff now.
Oh, dude, he loves to get fisted. I'll guarantee you that. With
Bill Clinton
brass knuckles
fisted
on.
president.
Yeah. He likes to get fisted. He likes to get punched. I can see him whipping himself on the back a la Michael Shannon in Boardwalk Empire. I could see him doing that type of
Yeah,
shit.
I think that the Raging Cajun's involved in some way.
Yeah.
I mean, like
I can see that.
everybody.
Yeah, it's the butt plug, stupid.
Are you talking about James Carville? You could fist someone with James
Yeah.
Carville. I've met him. I've seen like he's very he's so smooth.
He has
He's
the
like
tiniest slick bald head I've ever seen.
he looks like a dolphin's cock in a suit.
He sounds like one a little bit too.
He does. If a dolphin's cock could talk, it would sound like James Carville.
Yeah, I mean, whatever him and Mary Matlin were up to it was like a dry run for whatever George and Kellyanne Conway are doing.
That's so bizarre to me, like how that's continued. Like I understand, like at a local level, or like, oh, my wife's like we're both this, but my wife's a little bit more this, or like I'm a liberal, but my husband's a conservative, but like not too big, not like the abortion kind, just the taxes kind, but like. George Conway is constantly tweeting shit about his wife's boss and tweeting shit about everyone that works for the Trump administration is the biggest, fucking dirtbag criminal. They all deserve to go to jail. Oh, not honey, love you. And just kissing Kelly and Conway on the face. Like at a certain point, I'm kind of like, fuck George Conway. Cause like, if you meant it, you divorce that bitch. You know what I'm saying? Am I wrong here? Like you ain't about that fucking life. If you really believe that, but you're still in bed with her and benefiting from all her bullshit, like I don't believe that shit. Like George Conway is like the Project Lincoln of people. It seems like as soon as this shit's over, he's going right back to Kellyanne. Like glad we made it through that. Let's be, right back with the next Republican president. Like, I don't know, man. There's a lot of it that just reeks. They're both like, it looks like a wrestling angle is what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying? Like, cause otherwise,
you know about their daughter?
Yeah, that too. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, if both of them really had as completely contrasting and visceral opinions that they do, there is no way they could be. My wife sometimes leaves the potato chip bag wide open. I've thought about going to my mom's. You know what I mean? I've thought about it. Like, I just need 2 weeks. So, like, there's no fucking way,
ghouls.
Man. That's what
They're
I'm saying.
all ghouls.
That's what I'm saying.
You nailed
like,
it with the Project Lincoln thing. I'm not sure about their daughter, if she means it or if she's
young,
just
so she
realized
gets a pass.
There's one. Well, but she
both.
might realize there's a third way to do this too.
Yeah, I look at it as like they just they're setting themselves up as influencers for different wings of like the political internet. Whereas Kellyanne's MAGA, he's resistance, and now she's DSA. And some of her stuff seems like it's authentic, but some of her stuff definitely seems like it's part of the family branding exercise.
Yeah,
she's also,
I don't trust.
She's also definitely got. I mean, teenagers have issues, and she's definitely got some. And I wish they weren't pushing her on the public eye so much, so she could suffer in silence like most teenagers.
Yeah, but
I don't think they pushed her to the public eye. I think she did herself trying to play gotcha with her mom.
How old
and
is
dad.
she?
15.
But then, dude, again, like I'm not ever going to, short of like murder and shit like that. Like I'm not going to judge most things a 15-year-old girl does, especially when they've grown up in that situation.
For the record, I'm not judging her as much as I was questioning whether or not she was legitimate or not. And I'm kind of the opinion that she's just playing the game she's learned from her parents, but just went the DSA rail.
Yeah, I mean, I just think she's a 15-year-old girl on TikTok, but that could be the same thing. Although, I mean, she's George and Kellyanne's daughter. She's smarter than I was at 15, I'm sure. But, like, I just can't.
The DSA rail, by the way, is the DSL's #1 policy. That's not true, but getting a train. Doesn't that sound like DSA rail? It sounds like a train to the gulag or something.
It does. It would hit. These fucking, like, these George Conways and, like, the Project Lincoln, the Rick Wilson motherfuckers, like, I look at them as a liberal the same way as a stand-up comedian. I look at when an actor starts doing stand-up comedy, I'm just like, okay, sure, we're technically doing the same thing right now, but like you weren't here for the start. You know what I mean? Like you ain't been here the whole goddamn time.
Project Lincoln has the highest percentage operating budget of any political analyst or consulting company in America. What that means is they raise funds for their super PAC to do their political campaign work, but their quote-unquote operating costs are at 90%. So $9 million of every $10 million they get goes to their operating costs. That's their salaries. Right. This is a huge grift.
Of course.
It's brilliant, and I wish I'd thought of it.
Yeah, I mean, it is nice for those Republican grifters to kind of maybe be benefiting us in a tiny way, at least right now. But
that's why it's perfect.
Yeah.
That's why it's perfect. They can say we were doing the right thing.
Right.
It's just that, we were doing it with 10% of our money instead of
Right.
50, which is about normal.
I don't think someone political analyst did a big write up about this, but like with this, the kind of ads they're making aren't good for persuasion. They are good for making people who already agree with you feeling riled up, which certainly has its utilities if you want to get people to go vote or go donate. But it does seem to be a straightforward grift. And a lot of people think they're going to pivot to being anti-Biden, but I think that's like they've got a great angle right now, which is being the Republicans who are mean to other Republicans the way Republicans are mean to Democrats. And they can keep doing that against Ted Cruz and Marco Rubio and all these other psychos for a decade, make hundreds of millions.
They can just change their name and let someone else do it. Mm-hmm. Go through the filings of changing their name, claim they've quit as individual people, but let the company keep going.
Well, also, like you said, like that, maybe their videos aren't good for persuasion in one direction, but in my opinion, they are good for persuasion in some, like maybe some liberals, some younger liberals who might be about to come into some money or something like that, start getting some property, just to put the seed in their head that like, oh, it's just Trump. Not all Republicans are very bad people. Some of them are very sensible. You know what I'm saying? So they can start doing like some like reverse, go ahead. They're basically doing PR work for the next legitimate Republican campaign. Like they can come back and be like, look, we hated Trump. We're not that type of Republican. And there's just enough people that shared those videos that looked and they're like, they found out one day, they're like, oh my God, did you know that the people behind Project Lincoln actually were Republican? Which is the same realization that they all have with President Lincoln himself. Ironically, he was actually a Republican, he freed the slave. So like, it's actually it's a Abraham Lincoln slave, Trojan horse, I think.
I got to go to a ball game.
All right. Well,
we just guys.
Okay.
See everybody on the other side.
Who's playing ball?
What?
Nefcho.
What'd you say, Corey?
No,
we've done over an hour as long as we have Trey's thing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You're right. All right, buddy. Well, enjoy the game. Tell everybody we said hello. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to the end of this podcast here on the WellRed. Mark Agee, tell everybody where they can find you.
Mark Agee on Twitter, if you're on Twitter, MarkAgee.
No, y'all don't know Mark the way that I know Mark. I don't know Mark the way that I want to know Mark, but y'all don't know him like I know him. And that was biblically, but I don't know. Fuck that butt. That was the most Mark Agee self-promotion ever. Like, just so like, if I must, I'm on Twitter. If you want to go there, even though I'm in the type of job that literally requires me to have a decent online presence. If you must.
Yeah, I'm very uncomfortable with self-promotion. I picked a very bad business.
Well, not. I mean, you're more of a behind-the-scenes guy most of the time. So I think that's to be. You're not the attention-seeking 5-year-old that I am. Mark is also, I'm sure they talked about it up top, maybe they didn't, but one of our sister podcasts is The Evening Skews with Trey Crowder and Smart Mark Agee. Drew, as always, has Into the Biscuit with Drew Morgan and DJ Lewis. And my new podcast, as you all know, the downloads are great. Thank you. Last week we broke our personal record, Through the Screen Door with Corey Ryan Forster. It is a pop culture podcast with a Southern twist. And hey, go out and, well, you already have voted, I guess, if you're listening to this podcast on Wednesday. Hope everything went well.
Don't vote Wednesday. You'll go to jail.
Yeah, don't vote now. Just stay at home and drink, and we're going to watch these returns come in, and hopefully everything worked out. And hopefully Mark's been right this whole time, and I've been an asshole for telling him he was jinxing it. So anyways, love you. Bye. Skew.
Thank you all for listening to the WellRed Show. We'd love to stick around longer, but we got to go. Tune in next week if you got nothing to do. Thank you, God bless you, good night and skew.